Hi, this is Derek Sadie with the business development team at Blackboard, and what I'm going to go through today is just showing the difference between setting up an LTI integration from the perspective of a Blackboard administrator, and then using that LTI integration as instructor, and then comparing that to the way a system administrator would make something in Partner Cloud available, and then of course how an instructor would utilize a piece of content that's available within Partner Cloud. So the first thing we'll do is go through what it looks like for a Blackboard admin to set up an LTI connection. And I'm going to use the built-in LTI tool that's within Blackboard to have the LTI provider show up as an option on the tool menu for the instructor. So I'm using a very current version of Blackboard Learn. I'm logged in as administrator just to show you the details. We've got the newest release here as of today, and it's March 14th, 2017. And I'm going to go ahead and add in a brand new LTI provider. Now in this case, the example doesn't really matter all so much. I'm focusing more on the steps of configuring it. What happens when the instructor clicks the LTI tool and it loads in Blackboard, that of course depends on the provider being added. But if you have, if there is an LTI tool provider that needs to be added by a Blackboard admin, or better yet, another way to say it is if you've got a Blackboard school that wants to make use of an LTI tool provider, the Blackboard admin needs to complete the following steps in order to do that. And there's some pre-work that must be done as well. So in order for this to work, the assumption has already been made that the tool provider, that the company, the partner, whoever that might be, has already talked to or communicated with the Blackboard admin to provide them with some of the details, things like a key and a secret and some of the configuration details and most likely instructions as well. And this is to take advantage of the entire tool placement utility, which I'll show you what that looks like. So in this example, I'm using Office Mix. It's a Microsoft kind of tool just to show what the LTI process looks like. And here's what the admin would need to do. So the first thing they would do is they'd come into the area called Building Blocks, and they would go into LTI Tool Providers. Now, if they've never added any LTI Tool Providers, the very first thing they would need to do is go to Manage Global Properties. And in Manage Global Properties, the admin will be able to make sure then select the options that they want to be configured. I went in and said, I'm allowing it. I'm allowing tool links to approved tool providers. I'm sending data over any connection. And these are going to be configurable and customized by the individual Blackboard admin at the given client school. But for this is what my demo server looks like here. So I'm not making any changes, but that needs to be configured. Then the Blackboard admin is going to come here and click Register Provider Domain. Now, when all is said and done, they're going to have the domain showing up. The domain will equate to the LTI tool provider that the admin wants to add the connectivity to. You can see in this case, I've got a variety of them already added. And you can see here, there's a list that's kind of grown as I go. I'm going to go in and add a brand new one that's going to then show up. So the first thing I'm going to do here is click Register Provider Domain. Now, this is where the admin has to fill these things out. Some of the values don't matter and can be customized at the school level, but it works out best if the partner or the company that represents the tool provider provides the actual details. I have a little cheat sheet where I'm going to copy some of these in. So the provider domain, in this case, is going to be the site where Office Mix lives, and this is going to be the main domain. You can have multiple placements that are kind of sub pages or sub sites within this domain, but you have to have a domain, and I'm going to say it's approved. This one's basic, so I don't have secondary host names. I'm going to also set this globally. What this means is that when the instructor goes to utilize this, they don't have to have a key and secret handy. The key and secret is going to be assumed for all links that are added by instructors by this placement. There's other ways to add it. In this example, that's how I'm going to do it. Makes it easiest on the instructor users. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my fake key. I'm going to go ahead and put my fake secret. These would be provided to the Blackboard system admin by the partner, whoever that LTI tool provider is, and there are no custom parameters for this example. So under institution policies, this will be usually inherited by those global policies, but can be overridden at this level. I'm going to leave them alone. I like to send the data over any connection, and I'm going to allow all the user fields, and I'm going to bypass the provider message. So I'm going to go ahead and click submit. And at that point, we've now kind of added this in, and we've allowed this tool provider to be active. However, this doesn't change the user experience at the instructor level yet. And they can go ahead and add this link if they know how to add it, if they know the code, if they know the URL and some of the details. What I'd like to do is utilize the placement tool to make it show up in the menu for the instructor. So there's an additional step there that a system admin has to take. So what I'll do is I'll go locate my entry. So there it is. I just added this. And you'll notice that in the placement and usage column, there is 0. So I've not yet, what that means is I've added no placements. That's an administrative function, which I'm about to do. And then the 0 in the usage count means no instructors using it right now in any courses on the system. Not a surprise since I just added it and I have not added the placements. So I'm going to come in here and edit this, and I'm going to go ahead into Manage Placements. And now this is where the admin goes in and they can configure multiple placements, but adding at least one lets this particular LTI tool provider manifest as an available option in the tools menu for an instructor within the course. So I'm going to go ahead into Create Placement, and this is another manual screen that the Blackboard admin will need to fill out, hopefully with some instructions provided by the LTI tool provider company. But I've got my cheat sheet, so I'm going to go ahead and give it a label. This label is what's going to appear when the instructor goes to add this in their course. I'll make it real simple, call it Office Mix. This description is usually just for the system admin, but can show up in a couple of places for the instructor. I'm just going to put it in there to give a little briefing about what this tool actually is, pretty generic text. Now the handle is the unique identifier of the placement, helpful for reporting. It can be anything as long as it's unique. I kind of made my own here that I'm going to put in. And then the student tool versus content type. Again, these instructions would be provided by the LTI tool provider. In some cases, it can be both. You'd add separate placements for each. This placement has nothing to do with actual grading. There's no grade integration, so I wouldn't bother with a content type. But some LTI integrations are a little more robust. Usually, if there is a student tool functionality as well as a content type tool functionality, this placement screen would be added or configured twice. One placement for student tool, another placement with maybe a different name, different handle, different details for the content type, and then of course, if it allows grading, this allows it to connect into the gradebook. All of these options are specific to the LTI tool provider, and whether or not they function is based on the functionality that's being delivered through LTI by that provider. Just checking the box placement allows grading does not magically allow an LTI tool to just start collecting grades unless that functionality is readily available from the provider itself. So there's a lot of things one can do in LTI. Not every single LTI integration supports all the functionality. Again, this data would have to come from and be communicated from the LTI tool provider, company or support desk or account contact to the Blackboard admin for exactly what functionality is and is not supported, and then some guidance about how to configure this screen. So in this case, I'm going to make it very simple. I'm just going to call it a student tool. And then this is nice too. If there is an image, when it's added to the course, the image will automatically be added. Provides a little branding and some differentiation that it's not just a generic web link, but it's actually linked to a tool. I've already prepped the item, but again, this is something that would need to be provided to the Blackboard admin so they could have it handy to upload. I just took the Office Mix logo, made it a 50 by 50 pixel image, and that way I can add it in here. And then lastly here, the tool provider and URL. Now, this URL would be the specific LTI endpoint. So remember on the previous screen, I put in just the domain. If there's more than one endpoint, you'd want to add a placement for each endpoint. In this case, this endpoint is very simple. It's essentially an LTI basic endpoint within the mixofficeppe.com domain. So I'm just going to pop that endpoint in. And the key and secret are inherited from the previous screen because in this example, I'm doing global key and secret, so I don't have to worry about placing it at each one. There are certain LTI providers that don't do it globally, that if they have multiple LTI endpoints, there is a key and secret provided for each. That has to be communicated to the Blackboard admin about which one goes with which, and this placement screen will need to be created each and every time for each individual LTI endpoint, especially if it has customized key and secrets that go with the specific endpoints. So once that's been added, I've kind of got my basic configuration here. I'll hit submit. And now what I've done is I've added an LTI tool provider, in this case Office Mix, and then within that LTI tool provider, I've gone in and added one placement. And so you can see here that I've got one placement and I've got 0 usage. And I've also turned off, hopefully this will work, I've turned off my user acknowledgement page, and I've also, I've got it, it's approved, and it's approved site-wide and for the key and secret. So now let's see what the instructor experience looks like for that. So I'm just gonna refresh this course page because I've now added some new tools, but I've got a basic course here and I just made a generic course content area called resources so I can show you side by side what this LTI link is going to look like and later what other links might look like next to it. but I'll go into my tools menu, and among all the other tools that might be there, and this list cannot exactly be customized by the Blackboard admin. There is an algorithm for how these things are organized, but as the Blackboard admin might add additional LTI tool placements, they will show up kind of in that sub menu. Within that sub menu, they will be alphabetized. So you can see here, I've got Office Mix. But even in this case, the instructor would need to know that it's available. They might not search that whole tools menu, and on some cases, this tools menu can be pretty large. So I'm going to come here to Office Mix, and the link name will be inherited. The text is up to the instructor. It is optional. Just for visuals, I'll put in the same description text that I had handy, but this is something the instructor can decide. They can also overwrite the link name if they want, or append it, and they're going to go ahead and submit that. And then ultimately, that's what's going to happen. So it's going to be one link that gets added per placement. The destination of this link is set. When the student clicks it or the instructor clicks it, they're going to be taken to whatever that is. And in this case, it's a very simplistic Office Mix search that loads within the course. Again, the point here is not about the functionality, but about how you get to the functionality. And that's it. All LTI placements will have this same look. They kind of load within the frame, and users can click this little home button here to be able to return back to the course kind of context. And again, I added all of that in the resources menu. So if there were additional LTI placements that had been added by the Blackboard admin, they would show up somewhere within this tools submenu, and the instructor will then add links to each one. But again, the link gets picked by the instructor via that placement that got added. It's going to show up in here, and then the destination will be the same for each user that clicks it. There's no dynamic discovery. There is no choice about where you send off the students, and they can't impact the behavior once the student gets there. It also is a little bit tricky to return back to the course unless the student knows kind of to click that home button and return back, because it always kind of opens within that bottom frame. So that's what it looks like to add a brand new LTI tool provider in Blackboard Learn, as well as adding an LTI tool placement and then showing the instructor experience for adding that placement and making use of it from within the content area of a course. Okay, so here we're going to compare now what it looks like to configure a brand new partner that's been made available within the Partner Cloud settings, and then what that looks like from the administrative perspective, and then what that looks like for an instructor to go ahead and use it from within their course. So in this case, we just did an LTI placement where we added a brand new LTI tool provider, we added then an LTI placement, and then we showed what it looks like for the instructor to use that within the course. Now, in the LTI example, all of the information about the tool provider needs to be provided to the Blackboard admins. They can go in and manually add it, manually configure it. There is no automatic configuring of an LTI provider. With Partner Cloud, those partners that are integrated and set up with Blackboard's Partner Cloud will automatically show up in the Partner Cloud to Blackboard system administrators. So they can show up in a variety of ways. Some will only show up based on the market that Blackboard is in, something like North America higher ed versus international. Others will be made available to, say, all of our Blackboard users, but are made available in an unregistered status, meaning the only way that they get activated is if the Blackboard admin goes ahead and makes them available within Partner Cloud so that instructors at that school can use them. And then we have some partners where we can turn them on, and they're able to, Blackboard can turn them on, and they're able to show up automatically across the board with zero configuration from the Blackboard admin. So it really does depend on the partner, it depends on the school, and it depends on the way things have been configured for that partner. In this case here, I'm on a demo server with the most current version of Blackboard Learn. You can see it here, and it's March 14th, 2017, and I'm going to go into my Partner Cloud settings on this demo server. And this server is set up as a production-based server, as any North American higher ed institution would be set up. And that's kind of how this server is emulated, but it is an internal demonstration server. But it is connected to our Blackboard production cloud, so it's very similar to what our actual Blackboard admins at our client schools would be seeing. So if I come in and look at this, when Blackboard works with individual partners and they show up in Partner Cloud, as I said, some can be on by default and need zero configuration. Others might need some basic configuration, and others may not be able to be turned on at all unless the institution has a license with that particular partner. For example, little compare and contrast, when Macmillan Learning was added to Partner Cloud, they were able to use our built-in cloud credentialing system within Blackboard and be automatically on and available by default with zero intervention by the Blackboard admin, and they would show up right away at the instructor level. That's not always the case. In fact, most of our partners that show up in Partner Cloud look more like this one here. I'm going to show this IAD Learning just as an example. They will show up in Partner Cloud only to the admin. The Blackboard admin is the only one that might know that they're actually available, but they will show up in an unregistered status. And I should mention on the previous page on the Blackboard admin tab, when new partners have been made available, when they sign their contract with Blackboard and we kind of turn them on their launch date, for each Blackboard admin out there who has, is a recent login to their Blackboard environment, there is a numerical badge that will show up down here by the Partner Cloud settings, indicating that there is a new partner that has been made available in Partner Cloud. That does not mean available to all of your users. It just means that it now has shown up. It's something new in the list, and the Blackboard admin can go and decide if they want to configure it or not. There are no new ones since I last logged in, so there's no badge there, but the badge will show up. And then as soon as I were to look at Partner Cloud settings and I could determine, oh, I want to turn that partner on or I'll leave them unregistered, the badge goes away. But we have a way of alerting Blackboard admins that there is a new partner available. So in this case here, I'll just show you what it might look like. Let's say, for example, that I, as the Blackboard admin on this system, want to make this IAD Learning available to the instructors and then, of course, the students within my courses here. So they're already set up, they automatically showed up, but I'm going to go in and want to change this unregistered to on. And there's a couple ways I might end up doing that, but I'll probably go into settings. And on this page, there's going to be some of the basic settings that will be inherited by the overall Partner Cloud settings. I don't have to touch these. These are likely the desired settings because they came from the global settings I already set as an admin, but I can override them if I wish. The consumer key and secret, depending on the partner, some of the partners will provide that directly, just those two values to the admin, and that's all they need. Other partners will provide a kind of built-in self-registration system. So I can click this register consumer key and secret, and if I haven't already done it, I can complete this form. So I'm going to go ahead and put this stuff in, and this would be what it might look like for a brand new setup. Go ahead and put this in. I'll click send, and then depending on the partner, and it can vary. Some partners will provide a built-in email situation. Some will actually generate on the fly. Some will say you have to wait and you'll be contacted. So we're going to pretend for a moment that this came back, and I've got my key and secret. And then it'll end up showing up in there. So in this case, I'll go to one where I've already done it. So let's go take a look at, say, Pearson Revel as an example, just because for interest in time. So I'm gonna go ahead and click settings, and see, I already obtained these here, and I did that by registering and obtaining. Each partner has its own registration page. I'm not gonna fill this out, but I did this once. It gave me my key and secret. I put them in here, and I click submit. And at that point, that's all the admin has to do. This tool, whichever tool is configured, is now available for instructors to use within their courses. So what it looks like for instructors within their courses is when they go to any course content area, or the content area of any course that they're enrolled in as an instructor, they can go to Partner Content and click Content Market. Any partners that have been made available on this system will show up in this content provider tile list. Our bigger, kind of higher level partners will show up in that first chunk of partners there. You can see Pearson Revel is there. And then the other partners that are configured will show up down below and then can be used by the instructor. And at this point, whichever tile they might click that represents that partner's platform, the partner takes it from there and walks them through whatever process for using. There might be a dynamic discovery, there might be initial single sign-on, but that's all driven by the partner anyway. The administrative setup is completely minimal with Partner Cloud, and it also puts all of these partners in an easy-to-see, clear space, and each partner can have their own kind of learn more, where instructor users can jump over and find out more about the integration, and they can see each partner side by side in an area where they go to look for most of their partners anyway. Unlike LTI links that get added, these don't disappear within a buried tool menu. They show up with logo visibility in the content market and can be added to any content area of any course. So the administrative setup is typically well under a minute and usually requires no pre-communication with the Blackboard admin, especially for those partners that can be registered on the fly. And again, Some of our partners don't require any registration process to happen. I mentioned, like with Macmillan, they were able to push it out and inherit our cloud credentials. So admins do absolutely nothing. It just becomes available and it is ready for instructor use. There's absolutely no administrative intervention. Those are some of the options we have with the way we work with our partners through Blackboard's Partner Cloud.